Hello, 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 and welcome back to Scoutcast, brought to you by Fantasy Football Scout. As always, you're joined by me, Andy, FPL Mode, and this is our last Scoutcast of 2025. And this is obviously, we had our Christmas edition last week. This week is not the Christmas edition. It's in that weird time and space where nobody knows what day it is between Christmas and New Year's Day. Obviously, all of us asked for green arrows from Santa, but I was the only one that was a good boy this year, Nacho. What is going on? Red arrow. I don't think I've ever seen you with a red arrow underneath your face. What's going on?
Guilty as charged. A little bit naughty this year. So, red arrow has come my way. It's been, I can't lie, it's been a bit of a emotional week in terms of the FPL side of things. Christmas was glorious. Obviously, Merry Christmas to everyone who's tuning in. Hope everyone had a wonderful time. But I was in a position where I just thought to myself, try and get myself in a position where the moves that I'm making doesn't ruin everything off the back of Christmas. And I've done exactly that with the moves that I made. So, I only have myself to blame. But hopefully we can rectify it this week because we have got a lot of game weeks in the space of a week or 10 days.
We really do. So anybody that is sat on a red arrow, you do have the time to rectify it, so do not worry. Speaking of rectifying, Hibbo, red arrow under your name as well. Maybe viewers are less surprised that you are not on the nice list and get a red arrow and I'm assuming some coal in your stocking as well. How's it going? Did you have a good Christmas?
It's been good. Heavy Christmas, too much food. Too much drink and then loads of kind of family time, but like a distinct lack of FPL points, I think. So, no, we'll not dwell too much on that. I think like the kind of helter-skelter schedule continues in the FPL. So we have a quick fire game week tomorrow, which is why we're streaming on a Monday night. And you've pulled a diva card. Like, so for anybody that doesn't know, it's Andy's 1 year anniversary. And he's told us that we had to stream at 6 p.m. as opposed to the usual 9:15. So if anybody's wondering why we're here, that's a reason.
I told you that in confidence. In confidence. It's not. It's so I can go out and get drunk. Right, let's have a look at some what we're going to be looking at tonight. We've got our points we're going to be looking at. For some reason, I've got no idea why. I'm going to dwell on the points for quite a while. So we're going to be looking at the points for this week. We're also going to be looking at the XGI table. I'm not going to lie. There is somebody new at the top of the XGI table. And oh my goodness, is it a doozy.
It's absolutely disgusting.
We've got the CBIT table to look at as well. We've also got the predictions for this week, goal predictions for this week. We got the fixtures, looking at the attacking and defensive teams, which ones are lining up best for the next 6 game weeks. We got the community teams, which again, I might dwell on those for a little bit longer. I don't know why. And then we've got our bus teams, followed by a bit of a Q&A at the end as well. We won't hold you off for too long tonight because we know you all want to go out and eat and drink and be merry. So we won't hold off for too long. But let's have a look at some points because, boys, 56 points this week. Hello.
Oi, 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 oi.
And some bench jam for the first time this season, I think, as well. So I had Raya with 2 points. I had Anderson with 5. Keane with 10. I brought Keane in this week for Senesi, who got me 10 points. So very, very happy there. O'Reilly with 1, who, not going to lie, he's been a bit disappointing recently, and Mukiele got me 4 because he didn't keep a clean sheet, but he did get Defcon. Foden with 2. Xhaka came in for a completely missing Timber. Xhaka got an assist and got 6 points, so very, very happy there. Wirtz I brought in as well, who got 10 points. My transfers worked really well this week. Brought in Wirtz, who got me 10 points. Saka got 7. Ekitike got 5. A little bit disappointing Ekitike only got 5, but nice to have those points there. And Haaland as captain. I'm just continuing this whenever I captain Imi Blanks and whenever I don't captain Imi Halls, who only got me 4 points. I did have Dubravka on the bench, who got 11. I didn't have any time during the build-up that I thought I was going to play him, so I wasn't too bothered there. And then Timber with 0, because, like I said, he completely missed out. Minter with 1, Krupi Jr. with 1. Krupi Jr. actually started as well. I knew he was going to start some game over Christmas, but he did get hauled, I think it was at half-time, or very, very shortly after half-time. So not too fussed by that one. But yeah, 56 points. I think it was 10 points over the average, which obviously I'm very, very happy with. 180k green arrow. So yeah, I've been waiting for some green arrows. It was nice to see Keane, Wirtz and Ekitike all get points, considering I brought all of them in this week. So I'm very, very happy with how this week went, especially with, like I said, a little bit of bench jam, which I haven't had for a very long time. So Nacho, not so many points for you this week, 41, but you did have some bench jam, I guess you could call it, with a nice sub coming in. But talk us through yours, because I'm not going to lie, I had no idea you had a certain Sunderland midfielder you brought into your team this week.
I didn't either. I must have honestly ate something or drunk something, because I could not believe my eyes when I saw Lafia in my team. I just honestly have no idea what was going on. I don't think I've ever seen him play. So, like, that's not a very good factor as it is. So, yeah, 41 points, red arrow, about a 20k red arrow. Not a good week, really. So I'll just run through the team, what happened. Basically disaster. So Raya 2-pointer, super frustrating. But again, when I've only got one free transfer, it is just not a priority move to get rid of him. But I don't think he's offering much FPL value right now. Back three of Anderson, O'Reilly, and Virgil van Dijk. I mean, Virgil van Dijk, I just could not believe he conceded once again in that game. And now they got Leeds. I don't think they keep another clean sheet. So I can't wait to get rid of him with certain Gabriel back and available for Arsenal. Midfield 5. I kept Semenyo. I wasn't expecting anything. The 9-pointer was a welcome treat because I was originally planning to do Semenyo to Florian Wirtz. So there wasn't really much in it between the two. Saka with the 7-pointer. No idea where the bonus points come in that game. Cunha, Foden, and Lafie somehow in my team. And then the front two of Haaland and Ekitike. Anderson come in for the injured Richards. Basically, I was in a position where all week I was going to buy Florian Wirtz. And when I woke up on Boxing Day, I just had Ekitike fear. Gonna be honest, I crumbled under pressure. I should have stuck with my guns because I would have brought in, similar to yourself, mate, Wirtz and Keane, and it would have been a tasty week. But it is what it is. Ekitike can still do magic against Leeds, and the transfer looks fantastic. So yeah, 41 points is what it is. Moving on.
Yeah, moving on. No. We don't move on that easy. No, of course we will. Yeah, 41 points. It's a bit of a shame. Still in the top 100k, which is still, if you'd have offered you top 100k at the halfway stage of the season, I think you'd have ripped somebody's hand off to have that, wouldn't you?
Yeah, for me, as context, it's been a bad couple of weeks, but still top 100k. Like you said, I'll be delighted with that regardless.
Yeah, exactly. We're still proud of you, mate. Let's move on to Hibbo, 46 points. Let's not dwell too much on that player in the middle there that I told you last week you're going to regret having. Talk us through your team.
We will dwell, don't you worry about that. So, no, as you say, 46 points, and I made 3 transfers, and lots of it was kind of popular stuff. So, I did Thiago, Bruno Fernandes, and Senesi to Ekitike, Cunha, and Rodon. I had to make the 3 to make sure I had enough money, basically. So I know last week we talked at length about Liverpool options. I was particularly interested in Wirtz. He obviously did a great score for you. But looking at my team going forward, when we finished podding last week, I think I was on Thursday night, I started looking at my team and I thought, I can't make Wirtz and Cunha work on my team due to my team value and stuff like that. So it was a case of one or the other, and then potentially jumping on a different Liverpool asset like Szoboszlai as we move forward. So I think that's a route that I've taken. But just to run through the team from back to front. So Raya with 2, Virgil with 2, Collins got Dave Con again like he always does. Rodon, Leeds and Sunderland played each other. Rodon was subbed off with an injury, I think, kind of early in the first half after about 30 minutes. Alderete got Dave Con, Cunha blanked with 2, so did Foden. Saka obviously got an assist and 2 bonus. Cherky was the big point scorer, so he played almost the full game for Man City. He was particularly good. I think he was standout, so he got an assist. He got a goal and he got 3 bonus points. And then up top, Hal Captain blanked, so he got 4, and Ekitike with 5. He provided the assist for Wirtz's goal. So all in all, pretty happy. There was a very fine line between getting a green and getting a red. I think it was 2 points off the safety. So I think for most people that kind of mid 40 scoring this week was kind of like a null and void game week, I think.
Yeah, it was. I mean, Cherky, fair play, like I said. I'll mention it now. I said that you were going to keep looking at Cherky in your team and thinking that he's standing out as a player that you're not going to want to own moving forward. I don't want to say now he's hauled, he's not a problem anymore, but it does help, obviously, the fact that he's got you a massive 13-pointer there, doesn't it, in this game week?
It does, but like I think if we kind of rewind back maybe 2 or 3 weeks, whenever I explained the kind of logic behind the Cherky decision, it was that if I was going to go to Semenyo, I had to make 3 transfers to get to Semenyo. Whereas my decision to go for the Cherky move was I could get there on 1 and I felt that it was a punt worth taking. So I think if we compare Semenyo and Cherky over that kind of 2-week period, I think Semenyo's had 19 and Cherky's had 17. So
Yeah.
I think when you factor in the transfers, it's kind of worked out okay for me. But again, you could say hugely lucky to get the big score for me last week. But then, I don't know. I think Semenyo's been lucky too. Like he doesn't,
Yeah.
he's not doing much in games, and he's coming away with double digits nearly every time. But you know what? I can't wait that Semenyo goes to Man City and just doesn't play a game for the rest of the year. I'll be completely delighted when that happens.
Do you know what? It's also interesting as well because people always think, oh, I was one big player haul off a green arrow this week. And obviously you got 13 from Cherky, 46 and a red arrow. I saw somebody in the community get a 20-pointer from Sharda and still got a red arrow this week.
Wow.
Marky Ojala.
Yeah, that's it. And I was literally looking at it thinking, how's that even possible? But it just goes to show it's about, your whole setup and just hoping to get lucky that week. But yeah, imagine it almost feels like wasting that haul, doesn't it? But actually, it does keep you from a bigger red arrow, so it's not too bad. But anyway, let's have a look at some XGI tables because the player on everybody's lips is now top of the XGI table, and that is Dominic Calvin Lewandowski at the top there. Is XGI 4.89 XGI over the last 6 game weeks. 7 goals in the last 6 game weeks. He's going for Jamie Vardy's record. He's going for it for consecutive matches scored. Absolutely unbelievable. And if you have a look at his heat map, at his shot map, it is literally every single goal is basically on the penalty spot, is somewhere around the penalty spot. It's absolutely crazy what he's been doing. But, he's always been a player, and obviously Leeds are starting to play to his strengths. He is 5.8 million. And I'm not even going to talk about the rest of the table yet because I need to talk about DCL. So, Nacho, everybody has got Haaland. Everybody has been trying to or did move to Ekitike. For 5.8 million, a player that's got 7 goals in his last 6 game weeks, a player that was ridiculed for owning 7 game weeks ago, like genuinely ridiculed for it, he's now absolutely smashing his outcomes, his underlying stats, everything is looking good. Talk to me. Should we be getting him?
Wow. The problem with Calvert-Lewin is like, I always think about Calvert-Lewin and think even when he was awful at Everton, he always kind of had chances, and we always used to see like montages of Calvert-Lewin misses, and they always used to be ridiculous, and we all spoke about how he was a terrible finisher, but I always remember him getting into goal-scoring opportunities, and we have to remember this is a player that back in 2019-20 scored 13 league goals, 2021 scored 16 league goals. So there is a player who has the capability of scoring 10 to 15 Premier League goals. And yes, we need to have a bit of context here. There is no world that Calvert-Lewin can continue this goal scoring. Even if Haaland was on this sort of streak, we would say to ourselves, it's eventually going to end and we are going to regress to the mean. But when we look at his most recent numbers, I haven't seen enough of Leeds right now to understand maybe if they've changed something in their dynamic. If anyone's in the chat right now who has a bit more knowledge, please let us know. But I can't really make a case against it. Now, the only thing I could look at is, would I sell Haaland to Calvert-Lewin? No. And would I sell Ekitike down to Calvert-Lewin? No. So it comes down to your team right now and whether a third forward is actually going to be right for your team structure. And as a guy who owns Lafille right now as his 5th midfielder, Calvert-Lewin being only less than $1 million more expensive, I'm starting to feel like a bit of a fool right now that maybe I could have structured it differently. But Liverpool, United, Newcastle away in the next 3, would anybody be surprised if Leeds scored against Liverpool again? And Ellen Road is a bit of a fortress right now against Man United, and then Newcastle away. So I still can't get behind buying him, I'm going to be honest, because of the way the teams are structured. But how can we deny it right now? What's going on with him?
You can't deny DCL. I mean, Hibbo, is Calvert-Lewin this year's Chris Wood? Where everybody said every week, he can't keep doing it. Nacho literally just said it then. He can't keep doing this. 6 weeks, 7 goals. Can he keep doing it?
Well, I think for large parts of the season he didn't do it. Do you know?
Yeah.
Like that's a counterbalance. Like whenever there was obviously very strong opinions in Calvert-Lewin, and I was one of those people that was very opinionated in Calvert-Lewin. I think what we are seeing from him now is a good base of minutes. Do you know? So at the very start, like we weren't really sure. Leeds had a lot of options in the kind of attacking spaces. Was he automatically going to come on? Was he going to start? Was he going to play every week? There was obviously this assumption that he was going to be in penalties. Now I think all those things have now come to pass. We've seen the minutes, we've seen the penalties, we've seen a bit of form. He did a really interesting interview. I watched the Leeds Sunderland game over the Christmas break. He was interviewed afterwards, and he's basically saying that he likes playing with another forward.
Yeah.
So he said, like, originally, whenever he came on the team, he was basically playing as a lone striker. He was having to do a lot of the, like, trying to win the flick on, but then trying to win the second ball. Whereas he says now, like, he's got players that are close to him that he can play off. And I don't know if you've seen the Calvert-Lewin goal. It was an amazing team goal. I think everybody in the Leeds team touched the ball before Calvert-Lewin scored, which was like from back to front, and then he scored. So what Nacho says, I think, is completely correct. How do you fit him in? Now, it's a strange thing to say about a forward who's like sub 6 million. We're not going to sell Haaland. We're not going to sell like a TK at this point in time. So, like, effectively, you're saying, well, do you have a structural change where you say I'm going to go up to a third forward and then maybe drop one of my midfielders down? Like, in theory, that sounds okay. Like, so for me, for example, I think my cheapest midfielder is Monty. You know, Calvert-Lewin is obviously looking like a much better option than Monty at this point in time.
Mm-hmm.
But whenever it's going to take you transfers to kind of get under it and potentially reverse and get out of it, I'm not really sure what I think about that. But what I will say is, like, we'll ultimately be gated by the fixtures. I think they've got Liverpool away, they've got Newcastle away, they've got Everton away, and they've got Arsenal at home in the next 6 games. So at this point in time, it doesn't feel like a buy.
Yeah, imagine if he goes for that record by Vardy though. I think it's 11. I think he got it against us, if I remember rightly, against Manchester United, and then he didn't score the next game. So we'll be keeping a close eye on Dominic Calvert Lewandowski and seeing whether he carries that on. Player in 6th on this list, who narrowly misses out on having over 4 XG over the last 6 game weeks. Haaland, Gordon, Saka, and Bruno Fernandes are 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th respectively. But Sharda is in 6th. Hat-trick this weekend, Nacho. We mentioned him earlier about a 20-point haul. He is 7 million. Thiago's going off the boil a little bit at the moment, although probably should have done a little bit better against Bournemouth with his points, considering I think it was Lewis Potter that nicked a surefire goal from him almost on the goal line. Sharda, in anybody's thoughts at 7 million, do you think?
Well, anyone that watched that game, I need to firstly understand whether Bournemouth were just ridiculously open, and are they going to be like that every week away from home, or whether Brentford were just really good at exposing them, because all the highlights that I watched, it was ridiculous. Like you said, Thiago was in so many good opportunities, and Sade basically nicked that one off his head at one of the points. Now, we need to put a bit of context here. This is over the last 6 game weeks, and we need to put a caveat on this, because even though Sade has got a 3.83 expected goal involvement, 2.97 has come in that game week 18 fixture. And we spoke about this with Mateta a few weeks ago, where he had that ridiculous game, skewed everything, and then once that game came off the charts, he dropped like a stone. And prior to Sade's hat-trick in game week 18, he hadn't had a goal involvement since game week 11. And the underlying numbers weren't necessarily suggesting anything. Game week 17, he put up a 0.57 expected goal involvement against Wolves. But every player puts up their best numbers against Wolves. And Bournemouth, obviously, were just horrendous away from home. Now, the fixtures are good for them. Spurs, Everton, Sunderland, Chelsea, Forest. I think they're okay, but that 7 million price bracket for me is just too expensive to justify buying him.
Yeah, 7 mil is a big step up. I mean, he basically did this week what free hit 13 players wanted him to do in that week, wasn't it? They picked him for that fixture, hoping that that's what happened. Obviously, what happened, he blanked, and it was Dango, Otara, and Thiago that obviously got the goals. But a player that isn't putting up numbers in just one fixture, Hibbo, is Matheus Cunha. He's 8th on this list, 3.72 XGI over the last 6 game weeks, and a nice healthy balance between XA and XG as well. So his XA is 0.96, XG is 2.86. With Bruno off, and he's definitely out for the next game. He's already come out and said, I'm not... what's his name? Oh, God, I can't remember his name now. Amorim's come out. I was thinking Ten Hag for some reason. Has come out and said Bruno's not playing in the next game. So Cunha most likely on penalties as well. How urgent is it for those that don't own him to get this 8.1 million midfielder in their team?
I think hugely urgent. I think this game week against Wolves, and I think we've talked about this in recent weeks. Like the kind of mindset's shifted. Like we had been very much targeting promoted teams. Like we've been looking at Leeds and Sunderland, whereas now we're looking at Wolves. 2 points. I think they're talking about sacking Rob Edwards.
Yeah.
Why? They're going down anyway. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, they could appoint Jesus Christ and they'll not stay up. Do you know what I mean? So, really, they should just leave Rob Edwards in place. Think about the parachute payments. Think about how they can become a competitive championship team. Because what's the point in shifting him on now at this point in time? And he might be kicking himself for leaving the championship himself at this point in time. But, no, in terms of Cunha, it's the easiest fixture going. We're assuming he's on penalties. There's a fair chance that he's on penalties. Because, obviously, Mbeumo's not there. Bruno's out of the picture. So I think when you're looking at that balanced underlying numbers, the fact that he's got set pieces, the fact that he's got penalties, the fact that he's got that Wolves fixture, but I think United also have better fixtures to come. I think he's have Leeds and Burnley, I think, maybe in the not too distant future beyond that. Yeah. Now, by the time Burnley rolls around, he could have lost the pence if Bruno maybe comes back by that stage. But I think people need to get on him, and they need to get on him fast, because this week we'll touch on it when we look at the individual 11-5 player simulations for goals and assists, but I think he's a captaincy candidate this week.
Yeah, you're giving a little bit of a sneak peek as to your bus team as well, but yeah, I think he's got to be up there, especially with City having a tricky away fixture at Sunderland, although Sunderland didn't look that good for me.
Oh, they didn't look good.
No. But let's have a look at the CBIT tables as well, because interestingly, I'm going to bring up the CBIT table for the last 6 game weeks. We got 2 players here that are 100% for the last 6 games, which is Bassi and Senesi. So Senesi is still smashing it with Defcon. Unfortunately, playing for Bournemouth at the moment, it means he's just getting 2 points instead of 0. But we do have some at 80 or over 80%, which is Collins, Ballard, Keane and Mavropanos. But Nacho, the player I wanted to ask you about who was smashing Defcon before he got injured is Gabriel. And obviously, Gabriel did come on as a sub. Arteta's just an absolute nightmare, isn't he? He said Gabriel's nowhere near, didn't mention Timber. Timber didn't play at all. Gabriel came on at half-time. So we can't trust a word he says. But if Gabriel is now back, well, number one, is he back? Is this a week too early to go for him? Number 2, he was smashing Defcon before he left. What do you think? Because there's a lot of people moving Timber to Gabriel this week. Timber's due to drop tonight. Gabriel's due to rise tonight. What are you thinking? Because I think it's a week too early.
Yeah, so I think it probably comes down to context on your team right now, because the fixtures coming up for Arsenal over the next 4, as we know, it's Villa at home. Now, my personal opinion is that Arsenal win that game and really just make it like a real classic Arteta performance where they're going to win by like a goal to 0 or something. That's my personal opinion, especially with Gabriel coming back into the side. I think what Chelsea done in the first half will show that Villa can be dominated in the game, but Chelsea in the second half just don't have the personnel at the back to deal with transitions like we saw with Watkins and all. I think Arsenal have that personnel to deal with those sort of things that Emery might do. So I think actually going to Gabriel this week is okay. Of course, I do think Villa is a tough game. And then afterwards, they've got Bournemouth. And Bournemouth are in a bit of an awful position right now. So previously, I would say don't buy ahead of Bournemouth. But right now, I don't think that's a fixture to fear. And then afterwards, we've got Liverpool, Forest, Man United, Leeds. I think that's a period where it's okay to own Gabriel going forward. But I think it comes down to who you own, where you go in. Because if you own Timber right now, you know Gabriel's the one you want long term. So I would just make that move personally. I would do Timber to Gabriel, get rid of the worry of Timber going into this week. Get Gabriel in knowing that he is the best defender in the game long term. But if I was sat there with Virgil van Dijk right now, in that position, even though I think Liverpool will concede once again against Dominic Calvert-Lewandowski, like you've spoken about, I do still feel like Van Dijk is a better pick probably than Gabriel for this particular game week. Gabriel probably will absolutely deliver, but I think it's a week too early to buy Gabriel at the expense of Van Dijk.
Oof. Big words. I like it. Hibbo, the other player I want to talk about, and it sounds annoying because they're not on the CBIT list, and it's because they're not going to get any clearances, blocks, interceptions, or tackles, especially with them playing right wing. But Dorgu is somebody that's kind of started to get into people's thoughts. United have a lovely fixture run, as you said there. We were talking about Cunha. Dorgu played right wing, looked very good, scored a cracking volley against Newcastle as well, and obviously got the clean sheet too for a mega haul last week. Is he in your thoughts at all?
It's not really in my thoughts. And to be fair, I had to shop in a bargain basement last week and got rode on. Like if I had known that Dorgu was going to play as an attacking right wing for Man United, I probably would have picked him. But I think he's coming on around 4.1 potentially. He could raise tonight. It's looking like he could potentially raise tonight. Shout out to Live FPL, by the way. He's been raggable. He's been working on an app for a long time, application, and he's released it for Android today. So anybody that wants can download it, and it's a good place to kind of track price changes, and it's backed by Scout obviously too. But no, Dorgu is not going to get DEFCON. He is potentially going to get attacking returns playing in that right wing position. I think in that last match he was just incredible against Newcastle. I think he was outstanding, and you would expect him now to continue there. But the fact that Ahmad is away at AFCON and Bumbo's away at AFCON, so like you would expect him to keep the position. So I think if anybody has to make any kind of enabling transfers, he's probably the cheap one to go for. If he's a fifth defender, it doesn't matter if he loses his spot. Like by that stage, United's good fixtures will have passed anyway.
Yeah, I mean, don't expect it every week. Do not, because he is incredibly raw as a player, and he's obviously got that in him. And obviously, buying him after the haul is always tough. But the fixtures are there. You know, he's playing what you say, Burnley, Leeds, and Wolves in the next three, which I think it's a good punt to take for the price, definitely. Looking at the predictions this week. And Nacho, it's really interesting you brought up Arsenal, because Arsenal have the joint second highest chance of winning this week, according to the bookmakers, at 66% against Villa. 48% chance of a clean sheet, 1.94 goals expected. I'm not going to lie, there's not often I look at these tables and I look at it and think, I think that could be a little bit skewed. I feel like that could be a little bit off. Have you got anything in you that's thinking, do you know what, I'm not really fancying my Arsenal players this week? Because that does seem a little bit inflated towards Arsenal, doesn't it?
Yeah, obviously I spoke about my personal opinion. I didn't actually get a chance to check these match predictions. That is heavy in Arsenal's favour, which is quite a surprise. But also, we're all joking about how Aston Villa are finding ways to win games. And these are based on, you know, the data and all that sort of side of things. So if we're just looking solely at data, then yeah, Arsenal probably are significantly the favourites for this game, because Aston Villa are kind of just defying all of the numbers right now, whether it be a Morgan Rogers worldie or obviously what we saw Watkins do against Chelsea in game week 18. I'm of the opinion Arsenal will still win this game. I just think they are a level above. I think they're a few years ahead of Aston Villa in terms of what performance they can put in. And I do think they will beat Aston Villa. But when I look at the other games here right now, I mean, even Chelsea at 56% right now. Yeah. I'm a Chelsea fan and we are Jekyll and Hyde right now. I know Bournemouth are a poor team on the road, but still, I don't know if I've got that much confidence in them going into this. I'll be interested to know about Newcastle, because that is a team where I would not be surprised at all if they were to slip up against Burnley myself.
Yeah, especially with the injuries they've got as well. They are in a little bit of a dip at the moment, aren't they? And you're looking there, Hibbo, at Liverpool and Manchester United, both above 63% chance of a win. They've got obviously Leeds and Wolves respectively. United expected 2.02 goals. Liverpool 2.38 goals against Leeds at home. We've obviously mentioned Cunha. We've mentioned Wirtz as well. There's a lot of options there for Liverpool and Man United that you could invest in and be happy with for at least short term.
I think definitely. Like you went there last week with Wirtz. Ekatike was obviously a hugely popular transfer. I think one that you're going to see this week, so obviously it's going to be like content creator approved, seal of approval. People will be talking about Szoboszlai. Do you know? And I think the whole thinking behind that as well, if Egypt kind of go deep in the AFCON, he's going to take pens for Liverpool. And if he's taking pens at kind of 6.6 million, he's obviously going to be a good option. The counterbalance to that is he's kind of made a bit of a name for himself as a utility man. So whenever Liverpool have issues, he ends up playing right back. So you could buy him for the pens and the set pieces, and you could end up having a reverse out of position player who's playing right back. But maybe he gets DEFCON, I don't know. But he's going to be a player that I'm looking at myself personally this week. You said to me I was going to regret the Cherky move. Just want to put it on record now that I didn't. But
I brought that up earlier. What a weird time to bring that up.
But what I will say is, I had thought, see when you made that point last week, and I have always thought this with Cherky because it was a short-term punt. I needed an out. I needed an opportunity to leave him as a player And like this was what I had kind of lined up in my head, was that I would buy him for 2 weeks and I would sell this obviously. So I'm in a wee bit of a strange position because he got the 13 pointer.
Yeah.
He's a bit harder to sell. Do you know?
Shouldn't be.
And then I know, because like the minutes are a huge variable. Like 1 week he could play 65, 70, next week he could play 90. But if he had blank last week, I would just sell him like no issues. Because he got the 13, then I'm thinking all the negative things about Szoboszlai and like, he could end up playing right back and blah, blah, blah. And do we really want him outside of the pens? But I think he's going to be the player that you're going to see a lot of people buying this week. But I think Virgil, Ekitike, Cunha's good, Dorgu, you've already touched on. But my main takeaway from this table is expect high scores. Do you know, an FPL? Because like Arsenal predicted big goals, Chelsea predicted them, United, Man City. People have a large piece of this spread throughout their teams. And I think this could be the week that you kind of see the template smash, I think.
Could be quite a bit of rotation as well, is the only thing I'm thinking. Yeah, it could be a bit of rotation. I mean, the other thing I wanted to touch on as well is the fact City, 66% chance for win against Sunderland, Nacho. I think you'd expect City to win, but with it potentially being a tougher fixture, Sunderland have been good at home. Is this a week to go against Haaland? Because if we have a look at the projections for goals and assists this week, Haaland is still top, 0.78. Ekitike is quite close in second place there. Cunha also up there as well. We've even got Sacco. I'm contemplating having a sell this week. When we're looking, I'll get onto that later. Well, when we're looking at this though, is this a week to go against Haaland?
So I think there is the potential to go there. The reason why people weren't Florian Wirtz in Game Week 18, not as captain, as a transfer, was simply because they had Wolves at home. That was it. And obviously Leeds in Game Week 19. So whenever we're looking at opportunities to go against Erling Haaland, really this week, it is going to be Cunha at home against Wolves. I think that is the opportunity. I think Ekitike is fine, but if he's not on penalties, I just don't see how he is a better option than Haaland. So it's Haaland versus Cunha. And we know right now this Man United team are a bit decimated in the front line with their injuries right now. But we saw Wolves can make a team a bit frustrated like we saw with Liverpool. And I don't think Man United are, suddenly turning a corner under Amorim all of a sudden and playing incredible football. I do think taking Bruno out, taking Mbeumo out, taking Ahmad out is naturally going to have a negative impact. I don't mind the Cunha punt. Could he deliver a big return? Yes. But what I saw of Sunderland, I wasn't impressed. And I think Ballard is a doubt as well going into that game week, which is a big, big player to take out. And it was only a couple of weeks ago when Man City beat Sunderland pretty comfortably. I know it was at home, but I just think the turnaround for Sunderland's pretty swift. I think this Man City team, the strength and depth is ridiculous. That is just going to account for something in this particular game. And I always feel like City will just sweep aside teams like Sunderland. And in the form that they're in right now, I'm just expecting Haaland to bag a brace. I'm going to be honest. That's where I'm viewing, and he'll be my captain.
Hibbo, you're tempted though, aren't you? You're tempted to go for Cunha, home at Wolves, on penalties. There's definitely something there, isn't there?
There's definitely something there. And like when we're looking at this table, and look, obviously shout out the 11-5, we use your stuff every week. This table here is, I think, a very good guide for captaincy week by week, because I think the weeks where we looked at Erling Haaland and felt like, this is the week that you can take Haaland on, like people like to say that, he was a lot further down the table. He wasn't kind of runaway top. Now the counterbalance here is like Cunha's a midfielder. He gets a clean sheet point. You would expect that against Wolves. He gets an extra point for a goal. He does have the penalty, so they can equal in that respect. But I think what Nacho's saying is exactly correct. Like Man City find a way. And they'll find a way against the trickiest opponents. They break them down, and then you're looking at Sunderland and thinking, I saw a quote on Twitter that said they were the best shit team. They come up from the championship because they've done really, really well. But there's going to be a period of time where they play like Sunderland again. And I felt that was a way against Leeds. I felt they started the game quite well. Then Leeds matched them. Then Leeds kind of surpassed them in terms of game state and stuff like that. I felt that they played the better stuff. So are they going to be able to handle Erling Haaland, Man City? I don't think so. Do you see a world where, and I think Nacho's touching this too, where Man United kind of stutter a bit against Wolves and kind of struggle to get it done, that could happen too, because like you're taking Bumo out of that team, you're taking Bruno Fernandes, you're taking Ahmad. There's a wee bit of lack of creativity, and I think in the last game, I think that Darren Fletcher's son come on. Do you know there's
Well, both his sons were on the bench. Yeah.
aye, so like they're kind of going deep on the like kind of very what's looking like reserve options, and I think maybe there's been a bit of a system change at United too, where they went for a back four maybe in the last match too. So I think there's a couple of variables that's kind of up in the air, but I do like the punt. I'm thinking, do I just play with a 40% EO or whatever and take whatever gains I get? Because I don't know if I can mentally take the scares of like backing against Haaland against Sunderland. He comes out and hits 3. And who are you captaining? Because we'll do the opposite.
I knew you were going to say that. I'm likely captaining Haaland, so if I do that, you should both go for Cunha.
Get on Cunha, Nacho.
Cunha
we know what happens. You're on the wrong channel there. Right, fixtures. Let's have a quick look because I need to talk to you about the attack and defence. This would just be me talking through this bit very quickly so we can go on to the com teams. At the top of the next 6 game weeks based on attacking stats and who they're going up against next is Man City. Liverpool are in second. Then we've got Arsenal, Chelsea and Newcastle. Right down the bottom are Burnley, Wolves, Sunderland, Nottingham Forest and Leeds. So even though Calvert-Lewin has been doing the impossible, he has got the 5th hardest fixtures in the next 6. And then in terms of defence, we've got Arsenal at the top there, hence everybody talking about Gabriel. We've then got Man City, Everton in 3rd. Hopefully, Keane carries on playing. Then we got Liverpool and Newcastle. Right down the bottom, though, we've got Burnley, Wolves, Leeds, Fulham, interestingly, with obviously Anderson being extremely popular, and Sunderland as well, with a lot of people out there with Alderete and Mukiele. So those are the tables there. You can obviously get those and you can customize them as much as you want on the Scout website and also on the other websites that are out there too. Let's have a look at the community teams. And Nacho, you can talk about these as much as you like. You can talk about the weekly rank this week in the league, because I think that'd be quite nice. I think people have been missing talking about the weekly update. So just talk us through how the community teams did this week.
Okay, so we'll get out of the way. The highest scoring manager in the Scoutcast Community League was FPL Mode, and
no,
congratulations.
Was I?
56.
I had no idea. I didn't even check. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you, guys. Thank you. No, I really appreciate that. Actually, I'd like to thank my mum. I'd like to thank all the players that turned up for me this week. I can see on one of the com teams there, I think they've got 6 players with 0. So it just goes to show you got to believe in your manager and things can happen. So thank you, boys.
Well, I'm glad you're happy because I'm not. I have been dethroned. And we all shouldn't be happy about this because we as a trifecta are trying to stop the unstoppable force of these com teams. And I've been trying to carry the load for a long time now and my back is broken. So we're level playing field. Me and the new com team, they had a good week. 46 points. They made 2 transfers. They done Bruno Fernandes to Rice and Thiago to Ekitike. So clearly the threat of Ekitike was why they made that move. The big performers then were Tarkowski, who has been sat there for a little while now and ticking over really nicely. We know Keane is the one that's being really popular, but we know Tarko is kind of the OG in that Everton side. They've got the double Arsenal in Saka and Declan Rice, but obviously Richards being flagged on the bench going into game week 19. Dubravka with 11 pointers, similar to myself and a lot of managers out there. In terms of the OG comp team, they took a -4. They got 48 points, but they did take the -4 again. The most template move, like everybody. Bruno to Cunha, Thiago to Ekitike, which funded the move. But again, as you can see here, Dubravka doing a lot of the heavy lifting with the 11-pointer. Their bench decimated, so Timber actually had to stay in the team with that 0 points. And alongside that was Semenyo and Saka with the returns. So, yeah, all in all, mate, you are the winner this week. But we're all losers because I've lost top spot.
Hang on. Let me just sort out. There we go. Boom, boom, boom.
Here we go.
Loving life. Just turn my Christmas lights on. Getting a rave going in here. Lovely stuff. Going to put Mariah Carey on in a second. Right. Well done, com teams. You've been maybe happy over Christmas. Right. Let's have a look at some bus teams ready for this week then. So I've got 1 million in the bank. I've got 2 free transfers to use. I've currently got Raya, Timber, who is a doubt. honestly, he could play. I just don't listen to anything Arteta says. I got O'Reilly, Anderson and Keane at the back with Saka, Foden, Minter and Wirtz in the middle with Haaland and Ekitike. Haaland's currently my captain. I've got Dubravka on the bench with Xhaka, Mukiele, who are both playing Manchester City, but could both get DEFCON in that game. And then we've got Krupi Jr. as well. Now, I want Cunha. He is the big player I want, and I am in trouble because I got 2 free transfers, which does give me a little bit of flexibility. I cannot do Minter straight up to Cunha, and even if I wanted to, Minter's got 2 nice fixtures coming up now in West Ham away, and then he's got Burnley. But he didn't start the last game, and obviously there's been some weird comments from Herzler saying he's not in his best spot at the moment, we need to support him. He did come on, and he did get told that he was kind of better when he came on. So whether that means that he's gone through his you can get dropped whenever whenever I fancy, and he's gone through that now and he's going to come back into the team, I don't know. But he could be a little bit of an issue, but he's got 2 nice fixtures coming up. At the moment, my thoughts are moving Saka down to Rice and moving Xhaka up to Cunha. So getting rid of Saka and Xhaka, Shaka Khan, to get in Cunha and Rice. That's my thought at the moment. I know Timber, I can do Timber to Gabriel next week if I wanted to. If I feel like Gabriel's back and he's back, then I can free up money and I can do Timber to Gabriel. That's not an issue this week. I've got Xhaka and Mukiele on the bench at the moment who can cover. But I feel like doing those moves makes sense. Saka, I've struggled with a little bit recently, and obviously Rice frees up quite a bit of money. I don't know. That's where I kind of am at the moment, and I'm faltering at the moment. I'm not sure. I want Cunha. I need to go into this week with Cunha. I feel like that Villa game is going to be tough for Arsenal. He is going up against, I don't know who's going up against now. What will it be? Luca Dean or someone like that?
Maatson, yeah, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. And obviously they've got no Matty Cash now as well, so whether that impacts their defence a bit. I just think Villa are such a good team. I don't see Arsenal scoring a lot of goals against Villa. I put it down as a 1-0, like you said, Nacho. If there's a penalty and it's a 1-0 penalty win, is Saka going to take that penalty? I've got no idea. Will Rice be involved? Will he get DEFCON? I feel like Rice is a player I want, but it's one of those games where, am I going to lose Saka now? And then all of a sudden he goes on his barnstorming run when I've kept him all this time. He's still picking up the odd points, isn't he? So he's not exactly an awful asset, but for over 10 million, I do wonder whether owning Cunha for this run is more important than owning Saka for this run, if I'm perfectly honest. And that's where I am. I look at the fixtures. In terms of attack, Arsenal are third, obviously. In the next 3, it's not too bad. Man United obviously aren't as good, so maybe I'm overthinking it. But I want Cunha, so that's the issue I've got, and it's just whether Saka's going to hurt me to get to Cunha, and that's kind of where I am. Yeah, there's no other way I don't think that I can do it unless I move someone like O'Reilly or Timber down. So I could get rid of Timber and move Timber down to a 5 million player, could go someone else and then free up the extra million that way. But then obviously it's getting Gabriel back another week. So I'm a bit all over the place this one. I do want Cunha, and I will do whatever I need to get Cunha this week. And I'm glad Wirtz obviously got me points last week because everybody moved a week too early, in my opinion, on Cunha. But it's just what I do this week to make it happen. I could move Timber down. I could, but we'll see. Any thoughts on that, or do you want me to move on to you, Nacho?
No, I think Rice could at any week match or outscore Saka. We saw that he got 5 points. I know Saka got 2 bonus kind of out of nowhere. So I don't hate the move. My only concern is obviously you're taking out a big premium in that team if you want Cole Palmer later down the line, but Foden could be that cash cow for him later.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, actually, because Palmer is obviously there, and he's even got a good fixture this week. I don't know whether he's going to play, but Nacho, let's have a look at your team then. 1 free transfer, 0.3 in the bank, and some yellow flags.
Yeah, not looking good this week at all, I'm going to be honest. I'll quickly read through the team and then some thoughts. So, for context, I got 1 free transfer and 0.3 million in the bank. Raya at home against Villa, no deliberation for me between him and Dubravka. Back 4 currently of Virgil van Dijk, O'Reilly, Anderson and Richards. But we just had some quotes from Oliver Glasner that stated that Richards really is touch and go for this game. And if I had to hedge my bets, it sounds like there's actually a good chance he doesn't play as opposed to anything else. And I'm not really in a position where I can allow myself for that to happen, because on the bench, my best option is Lafia at home against Man City, which is not ideal at all. And we spoke about how this week could be quite a high-scoring week. And do I want one of my players to be Lafia? Not really. The midfield four, Foden, Semenyo, Saka and Cunha, and then Haaland and Ekitike up top with Haaland with the captaincy. Now, in terms of my transfer, I always had it scheduled in to do Semenyo to Szoboszlai and get my third Liverpool pick. However, does that help my team at all? Literally doesn't, because if Richards doesn't turn up, I still end up with Lafia in my team. So I'm a bit of a spot right now where I could do Richards to Keane, get it done, a player that I know I want long term. That probably is my number one transfer. But what I saw from Nottingham Forest, I actually think they are good value for their money. I think they probably will score against Everton. And I thought Everton were actually really lucky to get their clean sheet against Burnley. So my other move is possibly doing Rodon to Dorgu. Same price. Dorgu would be an incredibly short-term pick. He'd come in and allow me to basically bench Richards or bench Anderson, and then if he doesn't play Richards, Anderson comes in for him. And knowing that Dorgu basically is a player I only want for a couple of weeks and then he's gone. So it's an incredibly short-term move, but I quite like the upside that he presents himself. And just for context, I would not even consider buying Dorgu if he is your third or fourth defender. He has to be your fifth defender in your team. I'm quite thoughtful about
Adamant.
Thoughtful?
Yeah.
It's not the word.
Adamant. Yeah.
Sorry. I was just about to cough then.
I'm
And I was
quite
like mid-thought and mid-cough.
I'm quite thoughtful.
I'm very thoughtful.
Hibbo, talk us through yours. Also, by the way, Hibbo, I was devastated that our Christmas tree formations didn't work out because of different things. But talk us through yours, because you have got 5 in the middle.
5 in the middle, so slightly different, the teams that you guys are putting out. So I have 2 free transfers and 0.1 million in the bank. And then from back to front for the podcast, people, so Reyes in goal against Aston Villa. Virgil has Leeds at home. Collins is at home to Spurs. And then Anderson's away to Palace. Midfield, Monte's away at West Ham. Foden and Cherky have Sunderland away. Cunha, who's the boss team captain at the minute, has Wolves at home, and then Saka's obviously got Villa, and then we've got Haaland and Ekitike up top. I feel all on the team looks quite strong, especially from an attacking point of view. If I was going to pick holes in it, Collins and Anderson probably aren't really particularly great. Virgil's been terrible. You know, like, I would take Gabriel back in a heartbeat, if I'm honest, but I don't have the money to get there, and I wouldn't sell before Leeds at home either. Monte, you've obviously touched on the quotes where he dropped out of the team at the weekend. He was probably due a rest, I think, Monte. And there was all this really kind of strange lost in translation quotes from Herzler, basically talking about we need to support him at this moment and blah, blah, blah. But like, he came on, he nearly scored. So I would kind of think that he maybe comes back in the next game, and that was basically just like a rest, really. In terms of my transfers, I've got a couple of things I could do. So we talked about escaping from Cherky. You know, after 13-pointer, it's maybe a wee bit harder to do, but one option for me this week is to go to Szoboszlai. I've got exact money for that move because Szoboszlai is dropping price, so I can do that. The other option is just to roll the 3 transfers. I know it looks kind of boring, sounds kind of boring, but it's going to boil down to basically looking at predictors to see, do they expect this Man City trio to start again? And do I prefer Cherky over Szoboszlai this week? I think Cherky was hugely impressive in the last game, and I think it just boils down to minutes. Does he get somewhere close to kind of 80s, mid-80s? And if he does, like, I really like him as an option. But I think I look at Jump the Wave, FPL Spaceman, all the people that do the predictions, because in recent weeks they've had Cherky 100%, and it's not something that we'd seen before previously. So that's where I'll take my steer, and if it looks as if I could potentially miss out, I'll just buy Szoboszlai.
I like the roll this week. I think 3 free transfers going into 20 is actually really good. I think there's going to be a lot of movement. Yeah.
And then captaincy is the last decision, because obviously we've talked it through in the pod, and I find it quite useful to come on the pod because we get to spitball and we get to kind of go through our own thought process and kind of sharpen it up ourselves. And I do think from this pod and from this discussion, I've kind of veered a wee bit more towards Haaland. So,
oh, have you?
See how
Ooh,
it
I
goes.
like it. We've got a bit of a Q&A now, though, so a couple of minutes just for a bit of a Q&A, and we'll answer as many of your questions as possible. FPL Soundman says, wow. When did this start? 6 o'clock. Philly says, Andy, do you do Timber to Dorgu and Xhaka to Cunha and bench Anderson? Yeah, I could do. I've thought about it a little bit as I'm going. The most important thing I need to be able to do is get back to Gabriel and make sure I've still got some funds. But obviously, Saka to Palmer could then be my move in a couple of weeks. J77 Lag says, really don't know the call on Semenyo. Will he play or has he gone? What do you think, Nacho, on Semenyo?
Yeah, he definitely won't be gone by the Chelsea game.
No.
I'll be shocked if that's the case.
Yeah, I think is it between the 1st and the 10th is his release clause. So that's when he can go for 65 mil or whatever it is, which it sounds like it's going to happen, but when is not sure yet.
It sounds like he'll play the next 3 for Bournemouth.
Is
So
it?
was that Chelsea, Arsenal or something? I was reading this, and then there's a bit of theory behind it that Man City actually want them to play against these teams.
Fair. Yeah. Makes
Do you know?
sense.
So I think it sounds as if he could play the next 3.
John Williams says, what's for dinner, chaps? What's for dinner, Hibbo?
I had my dinner already. I had chicken Kiev, chips, and coleslaw.
Coleslaw, whoa, hello. There's nothing wrong with coleslaw,
Like, what's
Nacho.
wrong
Come
with
on,
that?
refine yourself.
Coleslaw. Ugh.
Nacho, what's for dinner, my man?
I have no idea. Maybe some leftover gammon. Maybe I'm not too sure.
Jesus, you couldn't eat the gammon now at this stage.
Is mummy not cooked for you yet?
I know, mate. Where's the emergency parcel?
I've got a hell of a dinner tonight. I've got a hollowed out French stick with turkey stuffing. Honestly. Not like that, Hibbo. My goodness. Right. I'm going to go to Nacho for the next question while Hibbo's still on mute. Hollowed out French stick. Anup says, who's the best Semenyo replacement? I got Cunha, Foden, Wirtz already, and I've also got Ekatike. So
Wait,
who's
is
the
this
best?
for me?
Who's the best Semenyo replacement? If you wanted to get rid of
Sorry,
him,
my
or is it
mind's
just to keep
bamboozled
him?
a little bit? Best Semenyo replacement. You've already got Cunha, you've already got Foden, you've already got Wirtz. Be tempted to keep then, to be honest with you. I'll be quite tempted. Gordon, if you want some upside chase, definitely.
That's fine. I'm just thinking back to be said. I've got a hollowed out baguette for dinner. I don't know. Right. J77 Lag says, come on, lads, need your help. Best 3 defenders on a free hit. What do you think, Hibbo? Who would you get on a free hit this week? Surely you've got to go Dorgu.
Dorgu, definitely.
I think you definitely go Dorgu. How long do you have we look at the fixtures? You definitely go Dorgu.
Got to go. Whoa, I would say a Chelsea defender, but they're going to concede against Bournemouth.
Lewis Hall. I like that shout, Lewis Hall. I think he's been taking a lot of set pieces.
Frimpong?
Could go Frimpong.
Yeah, I don't mind Frimpong.
Yeah, I don't mind Frimpong.
They're the 3.
FPL economist, by the economist, I should say, evening in the chat as well, my fellow traitor. Faddy says, who is a good replacement for Raya? Arsenal have some tricky fixtures coming up, Nacho.
I actually think Sanchez isn't too bad of an option long term.
Ooh, really? Interesting.
Yeah, I think once Fofana is back in, we'll be sound. We'll be okay.
And Uchi says, any news on who plays left back for Arsenal? I'm assuming if Calafiori's not fit, it'll be Lewis Skelly, like it usually is, because I don't think Lewis Skelly's got any issues. And Nick Plater, last one for Hibbo, says, Hall or Chow? Hall a bit of a risk for minutes, is he? What do you think, Hibbo?
I think his minutes have been fairly solid since he came on the team. He came back and he was obviously recovering from a fairly long-term injury. So he was rested in one of the games kind of in the midweek break, but I think he plays this. There is risk there, but I think the upside's big.
It was only through injuries that he was out of it, really, wasn't it? Like, he's a cracking player.
Great player.
Ex-Chelsea, isn't he, Nacho?
I don't actually know.
I'm sure he is. Sure he is.
Oh, Lewis Hall. Yeah, of course. Sorry, Lewis Hall. Yes,
Yeah,
centre
sure
mid
he is.
originally.
Yeah.
Centre mid. Sorry, my mind's all over the shop
Anyway,
there.
that's all right. It's all right. Of course, he doesn't know any Chelsea players from unless they're the last 2 years, does he? Bless him.
Sorry, no. For anyone wondering, I am a Chelsea fan. Yes, he come through the academy. Yes, he used to play centre mid. Then we put left back, and now we have Cucurella, who's way worse than Lewis Hall.
Nah, yeah, exactly. Doesn't even know who Zola or Drogba are. Disgusting. Right, thank you so much for the people in the chat for joining us. I think we capped out at just under 350. Thank you so much as well to all the people that listen after. We hope you all have obviously had a lovely Christmas and a good New Year. Remember, the deadline is Tuesday, and then there's no games on the Wednesday, and then there's more games on the Thursday. So it's a bit of a weird game week this week, but we do wish all of you luck. Hibbo, thanks so much for joining us this evening, my man. Hopefully some green arrows to welcome in 2026.
It would be nice. It would be nice. Now, like, I didn't expect to come onto the pod tonight and hear you say the words hollowed out French dick.
That's what Nacho got for Christmas.
No, it's been a blast as usual. It would be nice to start 2026 with a green, but the team looks okay. So, like, here's hoping, fingers crossed. I think we can get it done this week.
I'm confident, boys. Not so much in Nacho's team this week, but I'm confident. 66% green arrows. Nacho, thank you so much for joining us this evening, my man. Hope you enjoyed it.
Pleasure as always, lads. Yeah, happy New Year to everybody. Gonna be 2 game weeks gone since we're next on. So, yeah, I'm expecting 3 glorious green arrows.
Oh, fingers crossed. Thank you so much to everybody here. Like I said, a happy new year to all of you as well. We'll see you again in 2026. Bye-bye.